Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to explain how one should respond to criticism. So to begin with, there are two types of criticism that one can receive. One, you have rational criticisms, and two, you have irrational criticisms. Commonly, how people respond to the criticism is generally negative. Both responses are negative. If someone gives you a rational critique, generally people will respond by feeling sad, feeling like this is an insult thrown at them and it's going to hurt their self-esteem and it's going to make them feel lesser about themselves. And this is obviously irrational because you shouldn't let someone saying something about you influence your overall view of self, make you less prideful in yourself, lower your self-esteem. It leads to very negative consequences in the long term. It makes you a less happy person because having a high self-esteem is how you ultimately achieve happiness. You have to believe that you're worth living. You have to believe that you're a good person in order to be happy. And then two, the irrational critiques. People generally get extremely angry at this. This is also not very smart because you're making this critique like very significant. You're letting these people get in your head and basically influence your emotions and make you feel in a negative way. You're giving them way too much significance when you react in an angrily way to an irrational critique. So, what is the proper way to respond to each of these? Well, for one, if it's a rational critique, you should respond with gratitude. You should thank them because when someone critiques you rationally, they're pointing out a flaw in you, an objective flaw, because it's a rational critique. That's what we're assuming going into this. They're pointing out an objective flaw in you that you should correct, that you haven't noticed before. Usually, because if you have to get critiqued by another person to see this, then it's usually something that you haven't noticed before. So they give you this critique, and then you realize that there's this certain thing that's wrong with me. There's a certain thing that I'm doing wrong. There's something bad that I'm doing, something that's taking away from my life, because that's what doing something bad is. It makes your life worse and all that sort of stuff. So they point this out, and then you can realize it. Now you know that, oh, there's this thing that I'm doing that's wrong. There's this thing that I'm doing that's bad. So now I can go and correct it and live a more happy life in the future once you basically fix this thing that the person's criticizing you about. Once you can do that, you can move on in the future and basically strive to fix it and live a happier life because you don't have this negative thing about you anymore. So that's one thing. And a big reason that I created this channel actually was to receive critiques from other objectivists, from other people who I consider rational, which most objectivists are rational, I would say. More rational than the rest of the world. I think if we were to compare the rest of the world with objectivists, while there are irrational objectivists and rational people in the rest of the world, I'd say there are more rational people in the objectivist community than in the rest of the world, because they've accepted Rand's philosophy, which is the most rational philosophy, at least from everything I've experienced, everything I've seen, all the arguments I've heard. So that's a big reason why I created this channel, so that people can point out mistakes that I make, flaws that I have, so that I can be thankful to them and correct them in the future. And this is a lot more productive than just feeling sad about it and feeling like your self-esteem is hurt because of this. So this is one way that you can respond to criticism to change your negative response into a positive response when it comes to a rational criticism. And then, on the other hand, you have irrational criticisms. This is when someone says something about you that is not true, something is negative about you that's not true. It can be extremely dishonest, whatever. It's something that someone says that isn't true about you. The best way to respond to this would be just to laugh it off. Don't get mad. Don't let them get in your head. Don't let them control your emotions. Don't let them give you negative emotions. Just laugh it off. Because the thing about humor is what humor does is it denies something metaphysical significance. I think this is generally how objectivists view humor, and that definition generally has held true. When you laugh at something, you deny it metaphysical significance. You say that this thing is unreal. And that's what you're basically saying about these irrational critiques. So when someone makes a critique about you that is irrational, the best thing to do is to laugh it off rather than getting mad at it, because getting angry is a very negative emotion. It's not a good feeling to be angry. But laughter, that's a good feeling. It's something you're just laughing. You're laughing at this negative criticism. So these are two ways basically that you can convert negative emotions, the negative emotions of anger and sadness that you feel when somebody critiques you irrationally or rationally, into a positive emotional state of laughter when it's irrational and gratitude when it is rational. Now, in both of these senses, you will generally respond to criticism in a positive way once you accept both of these are the best way to respond to criticism. And that's by far the best way to respond. Like, for example, with this YouTube channel, I get a lot of critiques from groypers, especially after the Twitter post. If I were to just get extremely fucking mad at these people because their critiques are extremely irrational and really stupid, I would not be in a very positive emotional state. It would be very difficult to be happy. However, when you just look at it and laugh at it because you just see, oh, this is unreal, this is irrational, it gives you a very positive mental state, and it makes me feel positive about all their criticisms. And yeah, bring the criticism. I love the hate. Gotta love the fucking irrational hate. It's actually really nice because it's very, very funny to me to read these sort of comments from people. But yeah, in general, you got to respond by laughing at things. You have to respond to irrational criticism by laughing at things, because you're going to deal a lot more with irrational criticism in your life than rational criticism, because irrational people are a lot more likely to just randomly yell out whimsical critiques of you. But rational criticism is a lot more thought out and requires a lot more time. It's not entirely based on whim. These people have to think about it and give you a full rational critique of you. And these are a lot rarer, but they're great things. You experience a great feeling of gratitude when somebody gives you a rational critique. But yeah, the hardest part probably about critiques is determining whether they're rational or irrational. But I mean, that's just for developing your rational faculty to do. That's all that you need to do that is just be more rational. Look at it objectively. Be honest with yourself about whether this critique is honest or dishonest. Be honest with yourself. Introspect, see whether what they're saying is true or not. And yeah, you can basically figure out whether it's rational or irrational from that. Just look at reality, see if it's true. And yeah, in general, this method of looking at criticism will lead you to a much more positive emotional state, because both responses to criticism, for me, are positive. Either way, if somebody critiques you, you're either going to be laughing or you're going to be grateful. Either way, it's a positive emotion. Now, for most people, it's either sadness or anger, both negative emotions. However, there is one exception to this. When somebody slanders you and it's going to have negative consequences on your life. So if somebody lies about you in a criticism and it's going to lead to you not getting a job or lead to you having less success in the future, then it is perfectly rational to get angry. And if you don't get angry at such a thing, then you are not being rational. Because the anger is a response to unjust events, basically. And if somebody slanders you and leads to some negative consequence in your life, then you need to respond to that. You need to be mad. There should be a response to that. And most of the time when somebody criticizes you irrationally, you can ignore it and laugh at it. But in these cases, that's when you need to get angry and respond, because that is definitely warrants your anger when somebody is actually having harm on your life. It's not a choice whether or not they will be involved in your head or be involved in your life, because they are putting themselves into your life and getting in your way. In that sense, then it is perfectly justifiable to get angry at them. So yeah, I think that is all I have to say for this video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video. Peace.